Hey everyone, it's Classic and welcome to AMS2. So I actually streamed this race the other day and there was a couple of problems. Firstly, we had to rehost the server. The race was set up through SimRacing GP, but it's still I think there's still some integration problems between that and Automobilista. So we had to rehost the server, and the first 15-20 minutes of the stream was, sat about doing not a lot. And then after the race, I actually got copyright striked on the stream for the menu music in the game, which is I don't understand because I got it turned right down. Some bot's got some good ears somewhere, picked it up, copyright striked, and so at that point you got to sort of get rid of the video, hide it, whatever. I don't know what you do, but I still wanted to post the race because it turned out to be quite good in the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for a bit of an onboard story style, and we're going to jump to 8 laps to go. Everyone had to do, there was a mandatory stop, and so everyone pretty much had done their stop at the halfway point of a 30-lap race, and then we're getting into this closing stages. So yeah, let's jump on board and see how we got on. All right, so here we are on board, and after I'd made my pit stop, Johnny Ash was the guy in front of me, and he was like 35-40 seconds ahead. I made a slight mistake on the outlap, as is usual, and I thought all hope was lost. We're like sort of 11th, 12th place, 14th place, and Johnny was 13th. But as we come down the pit straight, that is Johnny Ash, who's just come out of the pit lane, and ahead of him is the 5th place car. So this is really where it's race on now. There's what, like 5 laps to go. Because we've been lapped, which we'll get to. And yeah, we're chasing down Johnny Ash in front of us, and he's got the 5th place guy up front. So up to this point, you can see on the dash, hopefully you can see, my fastest lap is a 1:33.96. And at the end of the race, I was the 2nd slowest guy in terms of fastest lap time. The top guys were doing like 1:30s, and I still, as to this day, I don't understand. I mean, I missed that apex, sure, but I was like 4 seconds off in qualifying. I do not understand where it came from. But the second half of the race, these sort of 1:33s I was doing was right on pace, and was actually sticking with this 5th place car for quite a while. I was close to him as I came out of the pit box, and I kind of had been following him for a few laps, which is really good to just sort of get your eye in. And now I'm kind of watching Johnny, thinking I've got an opportunity, but these first few laps here, I mean, Johnny's kind of closed up on the back of him, it's kind of all over him. Look, I mean, now he's looking for a dive into the hairpin. Things are getting spicy, so I'm hoping that Johnny gets held up a little bit long enough for me to get a dive bomb somewhere. I don't know, but it's about the best opportunity we've got, because up to this point, again, he was miles ahead. And I'm not sure if this is the case. It's good people in the Discord, I think, mentioned they got pit stop penalties. The pit lane at Cadwell is really awkward. I mean, all of Cadwell's awkward, but the pit lane was especially awkward. And my box was like the first box, and so I had to come into the pit lane like way below the actual speed limiter line. You sort of hit the line on speed limiter, and I have to back off completely to be able to like get the car in, as Johnny makes a move on to unlap himself. And so I think a few people were getting pit stop penalties because of that awkward pit lane. So I don't know if Johnny had just served his pit stop late, or if he got a penalty and that's why he kind of was pushed back to us. Because as you can tell, I mean, look, he's overtaking the 5th place guy. He should not be down here in whatever we're fighting for, sort of 13th place or something. So as he unlaps himself, this is where I start to get into a bit of a groove. And I'm really annoyed I didn't get into this groove earlier in the race. Again, I think maybe it's come back to us. Everyone else is kind of slowing down. I've got good pace at the minute. Well, I've not got good pace, but I'm sticking with the pace. The pace is kind of slowed off, and I'm sticking with it. And so I just spend a few laps behind the 5th place guy, and there was just there's these moments in sim racing, and probably normal racing too, where you're in the zone, and it just feels so good to just hitting your marks. You're chasing somebody like this. I mean, I'm like a second behind, but just, I'm leveling the gap every lap, just keeping it there. I'm really pushing, and it's such a great zone to be in. And on top of that, I've got this like carrot as well of Johnny up front, and I know he's stretching off right now, but I'm hopeful. At this point, I'm a little hopeful. So we'll swing it forward a little bit, and we'll get to the closing action. And there it is. Johnny just outbrakes himself, I think, going into the twisty set. Is it after the mountain? Is there a name for it? But yeah, this car was a lot of fun to drive, but because of the track so narrow, if you were slightly braking on the grass, I mean, that was it. You know, if you got the rear wheel on the grass as you were braking, tried to turn, the thing would just swap ends so quickly. And that was a bit of a common theme with the race. I made mistakes, and a lot of other people making mistakes as well, especially like that first half of the race where everyone was still kind of, there was a bit of banging doors going, and yeah, it was kind of a case of if you were consistent, you get a good position here, because there was a lot of people going off left and right. And in this game, the grass is, whether it's realistic or not, but it's very unforgiving. And so if you kind of just stray out onto it, you end up just bouncing along, and you're kind of scared to really turn to get back on the track because you don't want to upset anything and end up spinning. So yeah, if you ended up, and it's very easy to end up out there because, you know, there's not a lot of runoff, there's not a lot of track limit issues going on with this. But I've been given like a lifeline. Johnny goes off, I get in front of him, and now I've close up to the 5th place guy. I mean, I'm sticking pace here. Even though my fastest lap is still only a 1:33.4, which, like I mentioned, was a good 3 seconds off what the fast guys were able to do at the top end. But the pace is here, and I'm looking good. We're on lap 26. We have been lapped at least once, as I believed it at the time. So we will only, as a 30-lap race, we'll only do 29. But I'm pretty happy right now that I'll get to keep this position. But small mistake into the last corner. I was in 3rd gear, not 2nd. Ran a little deep, and so I thought I was going to be compromised down the straight. But it turned out, whether it's slipstream or what, or Johnny got a bad run as well. I thought it'd be all over me into that turn 1, but luckily managed to defend it. And we are now on lap 27. As I'm sitting pretty right now. I've been in that groove for a couple of laps, following this 5th place guy. Again, the pace had come to me. I was feeling good. And yeah, I mean, I'm confident that we're going to get a good position. And speaking of positions, we're actually up into P8 right now, as for some reason we go past a slow moving P7, so that bumps us up another position. I don't know, the fuel situation was that we're doing a 30-lap race, and the max number of laps you could get in the car fuel-wise, about 56 litres I think, was 30 laps. So I actually put a litre in at the pit stop, thinking, you know, we might be fuel limited, because this game, I don't think it really gives you like a fuel per lap use like ACC does, so you can't tell if you're, you know, up or down on the target. So I did a litre, so I don't know if that guy would maybe ran out of fuel and he was having to fuel save now. I have no idea what happened. We're up to 7th, and I'm feeling good, as the track limits through here were hilarious. I mean, you could there was no penalties anywhere, so we almost run into the back of 5th place. I get a little wide on the grass there, and John is right behind us, gives us a little tap into the last corner. That means he drops off. But as we come down now, we're going to start lap 28, and what I didn't know is this is our final lap. We've actually been lapped twice. I did not know this. As we come into turn 1, I'm a little wide, I get on the dirt, and that's it. I'm skating across the grass, trying to slow it down, and that's it. We're around. Johnny's through. And that was the last lap of the race. Unbeknownst to me, all we had to do was survive one more lap, and we'd have secured our P7 ahead of our arch nemesis on the day, Mr. Johnny Ash. And yeah, threw it away. And that's really what I was talking about earlier with the grass. It's, you get out on there. I mean, you know, got out on the dirt through turn 1 onto that grass. The car's bouncing, and I'm trying to slow it down, but scared to put too much input anywhere. And as soon as I hit the track again, it spins out. Luckily, don't take anyone else out, but race ruined, and that's the difference. That I had a few laps where I felt in the zone and everything was running perfectly, and all it took was a tiny mistake like that, was just running. I'm only off the apex, maybe half a meter or more, but it's quite a fast corner. It's full commitment, and yeah, that's all it took. A mistake I'd not made all race at that corner. I made plenty more mistakes, but never bounced across that grass before. And yeah, at the crucial moment, that was it. It was over. Which I'm kind of glad there was only, this was our last lap anyway, because it would be heartbreaking having to do a couple more now after just bottling it. And I think this was actually the leader coming past us right here. So we hadn't actually been lapped twice until I let him through at the last corner, and yeah, after he gave a bit of a bump, I almost spun into him. But yeah, this was what put us 2 laps down, which meant we'd have finished. So perhaps we'd have actually got another lap if we had stayed ahead of Johnny. I've not made the mistake, because we wouldn't have been overtaken by the leader there. So we might not have finished 7th. You might have got us eventually, but I thought we were doing a good job. But yeah, just a great race, and it just shows even little front wheel drive mini on kind of a comedy chill night can still be some incredible racing. And it's one of those really nice moments when you just get in the zone. It feels good, and unfortunately it was only for a couple of laps. Only for about 5 laps of the race that I actually got in the zone. But yeah, don't underestimate anything can kind of give you that great race. And it's all a case of minimizing mistakes and just trying to stay with it. Even though, like I said, I mean, my fastest lap was 3.5 seconds slower than the leader's top time. They were doing like 1:30s, the top people. So it just shows that you don't necessarily have to be the fastest, but you do have to be nice and clean and keep it consistent. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that, guys. I absolutely loved it in the end. Turned out to be such a great event. AMS2 behaved itself as well. The game ran flawlessly. This car felt great, and yeah, I'm hoping to do some more stuff with these guys. So yeah, appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.